Hello everybody, this is video 3 on grouping. Please watch the other 2 videos on grouping and also watch the time signature videos. There are 4 of them. Okay, so I'm just going to try and show you a few tips and tricks that have to do with grouping. So let's start with 3, 4. So this is simple triple, and what you'll notice here is you have 3 crotchets in a bar, simple triple. So remember, you must be able to define the time signature first in those words, because that tells you how to group it. The clue to grouping it is in that definition. Okay, this is 3, 4, and this is 6, 8, and this over here is compound duple. So this is a simple time signature and this is a compound time signature. And what you'll notice is that that is grouped in 3 and this is grouped in 2. And remember, the main difference between simple and compound: a compound beat is a dotted crotchet, and in a simple you've just got the straight crotchet. Okay, but what you'll notice is that there are 6 quavers in both of these bars. This is simple and this is compound, but there are 6 quavers in both. Do you notice that? 2 quavers, 2 quavers, 2 quavers in those crotchets. 3 quavers and 3 quavers make up 6 quavers. So there are 6 quavers here and 6 here. So we have the same amount of quavers in both bar, but when it comes to grouping, you will deal with those quavers and those rhythms differently. So what you're going to get is a question, for instance, in 3, 4 that looks like this. And it's going to be in its ungrouped and unbeamed form. Remember, beaming and grouping, they kind of go hand in hand. You got to know how to beam as well, because the beaming helps with grouping, right? And you could get that in 6, 8 as well. You've got 6 quavers, right? So if you look at that, they're exactly the same, but there's a difference. The one is simple triple and the other is compound duple. Okay, so simple triple tells you that you've got, the musician has got to be able to see 3 distinct groups. So this is quite simple. You simply go group 1, group 2, and group 3. And there you have your 3 groups: group 1, group 2, and group 3. 1, 2, 3. But now let's have a look at compound duple. Same amount of quavers, but you're looking for 2 groups. So logically, that's group 1 and this is group 2, because now you're looking for 2 groups and not 3 groups. Can you see the difference? So if you group this in compound duple, you will put the beam there to signify those 3 notes. And in this example here, or this beat here, you would put the beam here. Sorry, it's a little messy, but can you see what's happening? Try and understand the concept. They've got the same amount of quavers in each time signature, but because this is simple triple, they've got to be grouped in triple. And because this is compound duple, it's got to be grouped in 2. Okay, so that, try and get your head around that. That's the main concept of grouping. It's how to group the beats according to that definition. So that's why that definition is so important. Okay, all right, so I'm going to move on to simple time signatures and grouping. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Yes, I am. Okay, so simple time signatures: 2, 4, 3, 4, and 4, 4. I'm going to deal with those first. So in a 2, 4 time signature, you have 2 main beats because it's simple duple. So do yourself a favor, take a rough piece of paper and write down a whole bunch of rhythmic permutations on a crotchet. Here's one. These are semiquavers, right? And we have a second one here of 4 semiquavers. So you're likely to see something like this. You are not allowed to beam these 2 together. Remember, beaming and grouping is a thing. So do not beam all of these quavers together in 2, 4. that was 2/4. Why? Because you want to see two groups, 1, 2. Okay, there are other permutations of the crotchet. Here is one you're likely to see, and you see this quite often. It's the dotted quaver, right, with the semiquaver. Sorry, not writing very neatly today. And that is also a 2/4 that you're looking at there. And can you see this is not beamed across the two beats? Why? Because we have two beats. These are other permutations of the crotchet. You may see something like this. And all of these rhythms must be self-standing as one beat or one crotchet. You don't beam them together. Okay, you also get something like this. Two semiquavers on the front end, and you also get the two semiquavers on the back end. And there's even a permutation of a crotchet that looks like this. Okay, with the semiquaver there, semiquaver on the back end, and the quaver in the middle. So in 2/4 time, that would look like that. But what you notice in all of these examples is that there's no beaming across these two beats. Okay, now I'm going to show you the anomaly. So in 2/4, you are allowed to, and this is only when it comes to quavers, you are allowed to beam them all together. So it's the exception to the rule. When you're beaming in a simple time signature, don't beam across the two beats. But when it comes to quavers, you can. Okay, 3/4, same thing with all the different permutations of the crotchet. Don't beam across the beat, but you can beam all of the quavers together. You can do that. For me as a musician, this is much easier to see because this is simple triple, 1, 2, 3, and I can see the subdivisions of the 3 beats there. But in theory, you are allowed to beam them all together. It's still very neat, and the musician can still see the 3 beats. So just remember that there are various permutations. This is in simple time. There are various permutations of the crotchet beat. Write a few of those out to understand how the crotchet will be presented. Those you want to beam together. When it comes to quavers, those you'll want to beam together within their groups. But when it comes to quavers, you can beam across the groups. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Right, moving on to 4/4. Right, 4/4, there's a bit of an interesting rule here which doesn't apply to 2/4 and 3/4. And that is that they do not like you to beam across the middle of the bar, and I'll explain that now. So if you did have something like that, that would be absolutely fine. This is simple quadruple, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are your 4 beats. You know, if those were crotchets like that, right? And I've drawn a line down the middle to show you that you're not allowed to beam across the middle. So you're not allowed to beam across or connect beats 2 and 3. That's just a simple rule. It also applies to compound quadruple, but I'll do that in the next video. So that is just a rule you have to remember in simple quadruple. Okay, other than that, you can connect the quavers together like in the other time signatures like 2/4. Right, and I think that's it. If you just remember those simple rules and you sit down and understand the getting tongue-tied here. So firstly, understand how to define the time signature in words, because that tells you how it must be grouped. And if you don't understand that, you will group it incorrectly. Okay, so you have to say this is a compound, or this is a simple, and this is a compound duple, therefore it's 6/8, therefore it must be grouped a specific way. And this is a simple triple, and it gets grouped differently. That's the first step. And the second step is try and familiarize yourself with the subdivisions, for instance, in simple time. You know, how many ways can a crotchet be divided up and in what rhythms? Because basically what they're going to do is ask you to add those rhythms together in their groupings. And then what you want to do is beam those rhythms together. Okay, thank you.